Yeah, hello and welcome to another weekly Spielworxx chat. I hope everything is still alright. And as you see, or as you may see, haircut has been done, so yes, everything's fine. First, I would like to briefly talk about 4 topics. Then I'll respond to any questions as you may have, so the usual routine, and then we see how far this goes, so up to 30 minutes. First, thank you all for your support of the Tribune Kickstarter. If you are following the campaign, you will have noticed quite a few comments on the graphics, on the board, especially on the board. And here I do not really want to convince or educate anyone. I just ask that you see the game as a whole and not individual components. And moreover, please keep all discussions civil and fair, as most of you are doing anyway. But some of the vitriol of some people is really amazing, and amazing in a bad way. But maybe this is just the internet and losing the ability to respect arguments that are different from your own ones. So what can you do? But the campaign is still running for the next 10 days. So if you are interested, please check it out. And thanks again. This is really appreciated. Second, the cost. The plan right now is to start the pre-orders in the second half of June and then to release the game here in Europe either in late July or early August, depending how fast the printer is. And there is already some info on the game on my website, but I'll talk about the game and its mechanics here in detail next week. Third topic I would briefly like to mention is Spiel Digital. And here in Germany, Dominik Metzler of Merz Verlag, who organized Spiel, she had an interview last week and where she vaguely hinted how the digital Spiel could be. And personally, I must say that I need to know much more before I can comment in a serious way about it. And I have my doubts that it will work well, but perhaps my imagination simply is not large enough or big enough here. So we'll see what Spiel Digital will be, because Dominik said that she'll have more info in the next couple of days or weeks. And fourth, I have again a question from viewer Daniel. He had a personal question in advance. So obviously the current situation affects the business side of things. Testing games and meeting with designers being difficult, if not impossible. But how are you doing personally? What are you missing the most? Hairdresser, as I said, already done. Restaurants, sports. So personally, I'm doing quite well, and my daily life has not changed that much. What I'm missing is testing games. This is of course important for work, but I also love to think about games after a test session, and I'm really this is food for thought for me, and I'm really missing this, and it is also stimulating, of course. And so I'm especially glad that I'm able to have my weekly test session online with Jason, and we did this just before this afternoon. And we tested Acadians, which is the third game in the Tribune trilogy. So I'm really glad that I, at least online-wise, I can test a little bit. Yeah, restaurants, I'm not missing restaurants that much, because normally we cook here together anyway. So this is not something that I'm missing. And sports here in Germany, fitness studios have reopened. And so I'll be back in for the first time next Friday. It is not that easy anymore because you have to book your time slot in advance, so that it is never at any special time too crowded over there. So we'll see how that is. And of course, this is natural. I'm missing my friends, meeting them, and I miss discussions with them. But in the daily routine, actually not that much has changed for me. So these were the 4 topics that I wanted to briefly mention, but maybe you have some questions, but I need to scroll back here. So, Stephen here, yeah, of course. And then Claude is there, which I'm seeing. Phil, the Spielworxx, always good tabletop games blog. Nice to meet you. And Daniel is there, in Germany even, wonderful. Many more here, so there's a question. I know that the Berlin Zoo has reopened a week or so ago. Are there any public places open where you are? Yeah, first of all, Billabü, where I'm living, is not exactly Berlin. So, yeah, most is open, but there is no zoo. There's in Münster there is a zoo which I could visit, and I think it's open, but most things have reopened here in Germany, but everything, of course, as you know, is different, because in restaurants you have to book your table well in advance, and then they can only have a certain number of people. So it has changed, but open, yes, most things are open again. Your local Greek restaurant, Phil is saying there's something fishy about them. I have to agree. That's true. So he visited that place together with me time ago. Yeah. Matt, you bloody bastard! Love how you pronounce Cajun. I'm not even sure how to pronounce that. But I thank you for mentioning this. And Spielworxx still reading the Bild each morning. Yeah, of course, especially after the news here today. This is a paper that nobody should ever read, but this should be true anyway, not because of the latest news. Stephen, yeah, you are missing restaurants and pubs because you are a true foodie, and you have a great taste in beers and wines, and I think you even have a license for beers, right? I think you mentioned this in your podcasts. I'm not that much of a foodie. I'm happy to get something and to cook something. This is fine. And restaurants, as Stephen is saying, are opened on a limited capacity too in Florida. Yeah, we'll see what it will bring in the future. Billabü, yeah, and Matt, although he is from the US, a US designer, fantastic designer, I have 2 of his designs under contract. He visited me here last year briefly when he was staying with his wife in the Czech Republic, so he came over. So he knows that Billabü is a huge metropolis. Of course it is. And Tabletop Games blog, his cousin and his family live near Münster, so yeah, probably. So now we have Ode here living next to me in Horstmar. We have Henning in Ascheberg and your family and me, so that's basically all of Münsterland. So I know now everyone. K-June, it's K-June. Okay, thank you, helpful. Greven, now of course I know Greven, yes, that's a pretty nice place over there. Serious question, what do you think about the idea of having online conventions? As I said a little bit earlier, my imagination right now is not large enough to really see this in a big picture event. So of course, we as board gamers, we live from social contacts, having people on the same table, see in their faces when they are smiling, not only pushing your cubes and your meeples. And this will be missed and lost. And I'm playing a lot of games right now online, most of it not testing, but for my pleasure. And it's fine if you're using Zoom or Skype or Discord or something else. But it's not the same thing. And as a convention lives from that people are getting together, getting excited because they see new stuff, they meet old friends, and this will all be lost in an online convention. So right now I don't know what to think. I just think it's not a true alternative, and especially if you consider, again, getting back to Spiel Digital for a moment, if you see this was a place like Gen Con for the whole world to meet. And so with the time difference, all the people overseas there will have a hard time if it's according to German time here. So I don't know. And of course, Spiel is so nice because it integrates, or it has players from family type players, so the core gamers all together in one place. But I doubt that any not so frequent family type player will switch on his computer or laptop or tablet to see any new games in a digital way. I doubt it. I really doubt it. But again, maybe Spielverlag, März Verlag at Spiel, they can do something that will really surprise me. And what Dominique has already also hinted on in the interview, of course, putting together such a convention, a digital one, costs money. And of course, she will, and she has to, and I'm not blaming her for this, she has to ask for money for this. And then that's the next question. Why should Spielworxx be present there if I even have to pay for that? So I totally understand this, but I have my serious doubts for it. We'll see. But thank you for this excellent question. I'm a foodie, be a judge. Yeah, Stephen, that's right. You are a beer judge, so your tastes are way better. That's why I'm always drinking cheap Prosecco, and you are having all the great wine and the beers there. Another question: how do you think online convention will benefit publishers, and how will they benefit gamers? Yeah, publishers. We are in a capitalist society, and of course, no matter if it's a real fair or convention or an online one, the big ones, the big companies are in the light, and a small publisher like Spielworxx, the noise level, as you know, if you have ever been to Essen, is so high at Essen that I'm hardly noticed over there. There are 4 or 5, maybe 10 games that are hyped. The big Asmodee has one huge hall alone, and some other companies are big, so people are seeing them. I'm only visited by people who are passing by and think that game might be interesting, or because there are fans. So the big conventions, and I'm not even sure if Essen is necessary for Spielworxx. I'm not sure, because the costs and my stress level, the costs are high, my stress level is very high. I love to meet people, but it's still, I'm not sure. And of course, an online convention, the costs, I guess, will be a lot lower, but still, will there be people who switch on to online Spiel, online Essen, to see me there, to promote the games at that platform? Again, I need to be convinced. I'm not sure. How important is a topic in a game to you? Be a theme. Are there any taboos? Is a game introduced to you directly with the theme, or do you work directly with the theme, or do you work on the theme afterwards in the game mechanism? So, last question first. Sometimes I go with the original topic theme, so because I think it's fascinating. Because I saw Matt over there earlier, he has this game Squaring Circle. Well, I would be stupid, I would be mad if I would change that topic at all. So this is a topic that is Spielworxx. So no, I won't change it. Sometimes I think something else is better, so I try to change, but of course I have to ask the designer. I don't want to hurt him. So it depends. The topic is very important to me. For me, it's the theme topic is more important than the mechanics. But as you all know, both have to work together. A great theme, poor mechanics can't work. Great mechanics without a theme can work. But for me, and of course in an abstract game, it's enough. But for me, in my mind, there has to be more. So there's always a movie in my mind if I play a game, and there has to be a connection. I think that lately, in the last couple of years, narrative games with a stronger theme are getting more popular. And this is definitely not coming from Germany. This is coming mainly from overseas, from France, of course. Very strong narrative games. Also from Japan, although from Germany in the Far East. They have all kinds of great games. They have small games, very abstract games, but also very thematic games. But especially in the US and overseas, you see designers who maybe, I'm generalizing now, who started with the American tradition of games. So war games, very strong topical games, or Civilization, for example, so the old Avalon Hill civilization, and they were very process orientated, so strong in themes but very repetitive after a while, and I still love these games. But nowadays you see the next generation of overseas US designers and Canadian designers, what they are trying to do, and very successfully in my opinion, they combine the European gaming tradition, strong in mechanics, Knizia, Kramer, Teuber, but they combine it with a thematic tradition of American gaming, and this is, in my opinion, the best way. And of course, as a lot of you know, I'm a huge Core Worley fanboy, and if I play a Pax Pamir, I see strong mechanics, so I can play the game with people who love just mechanics and won't ever think about we are in Afghanistan in the 19th century, but I also can play such a game with a gamer who loves the scene. So, Eastbourne, United Kingdom, okay, so very diverse. Spielworxx thinking about doing some sort of online convention or meeting to introduce gamers to Spielworxx games. Yeah, well, what you're seeing here and what we are doing right now is a first and tiny step. I think community is very important, and opening a Facebook page is not enough for your community. You have to have a certain kind of dialogue. So this is the first step. You also have to see that my resources, both time-wise and budget-wise, are very, very low. But the main problem is the day is only 24 hours and I can only do so much. And I have other interests, of course, as well. It could be that I'm doing, and this was asked in our very first weekly chat, that I'm doing a very small gathering, not a convention for Spielworxx fans, but not online, but in person, so that I can talk, that late in the evening we can, getting back to beers again, that we can have a beer together and talk about the games, but that I know a little bit more about these people. I think this is important. What I will do as soon as some more modules are ready, vessel modules, I will again stream some games. So I did stream a Pax Pamir game, but hopefully in a couple of weeks the Grand Trunk Journey by Claude, who is in the chat here, should be done, and then what I'm planning is to have a game with Claude, with me and some other gamers, so that we play together, and of course I will stream such a game. But don't expect anything that is fancy. You see, I'm struggling here with my stupid webcam, and that's that's almost the most I can do. Updates on the cost. Yes, there will be a large update next week here, and of course also on my website. So I will introduce you in detail to the game, and I will introduce you to the background, the topic, and the mechanics. So that will be next week. Is it possible to playtest the cost at all? Playtesting is done of the game. That game is definitely in the can. So I hope to, again, this is Corona, COVID-19 inspired. I hope to have all my latest or later releases as vessel modules. So I hope to have the cost vessel module in a couple of months, and then everybody can play. So if you are in England and would like to play with your family, I don't know if they are gamers at Greven here in my neighborhood, they can do so, and hopefully you're having a great time. I do like this Ask Me Everything stream. I've never said anything stream, I've never said anything, so don't ask me about, a few things, but keep them going, please. Thank you very much. This is much appreciated. It would be great to play the cost. Thank you. Yeah, of course. I'll make this game available online, and I think it's necessary, and not only in COVID times, but for a small publisher, this is something to spread the word, and I think that's one of my things I need to do in the future. We can't ask you about anything. I'm shocked. Yeah. So, but most things. Let's put it that way. Most things. And yeah. Well, then if the screen goes black immediately, you know this was something that was not on the agenda. Is there a card game that you plan for the future? There's another question. A pure card game? Most probably not. Spielworxx, because of the small print run, needs quite a bit of components in there to make this profitable, because I need a pretty high profit margin per copy. So, but of course, if it's a combined card board game, or if there are any other extras included there, yes, of course I'm considering it. In a way, our latest release, again by Claude, the Grand Trunk Journey, it has a board, it has pieces on the board, but it's also a card game, because each player has his own deck of cards, and builds everything from there. So a pure card game, small card game. There are other companies who does this way better. For example, here in Germany, Amigo, they are cornering that market. But other games, yes, I'm not ruling anything out. Boxers or briefs? Good question, Stephen. So it really depends. I can answer this. What other games are in the pipeline for Spielworxx? So for Spielworxx, we have for this year the cost. Of course, the Tribune Kickstarter is active and live right now. Then we have by Jason, we have the second game, and now I try to pronounce this correctly, in the K-June trilogy, which is Crescent City Cargo. So that's in the pipeline. And Stronghold Games, so Stephen, they will be doing a second edition of Captains of the Gulf. And for next year, we have maybe Lieber Bayerisch Sterben. Could be not, depending on how fast I can test it. We will have Taros, which is also a card game with board elements in a steampunk universe. We will have Squaring Circle Will, which is the aforementioned game by Matt Wolf. We will have an 18xx game. And if Lieber Bayerisch Sterben is not possible, then I would love, depending on testing, to have the second game by Claude Sirois, which is Griffintown. And some people have already tested that game at BGG-Con, and that game is also in great shape when I saw it the last time. So there are options. And I have some games for 2022 under contract already. I'm not sure if this is the right moment to mention them because it's so far in the future. But there's even an Uwe Rosenberg design involved that I'm having under contract. We'll see. Uno Civil War Edition could be a nice game. Yes, maybe not. K-Gen, is it really K-Gen, Daniel? Okay, I learned something again. So, is it K-Gen or K-June? So, well, next week I'll know more. Do you give any games in your family and circle of friends at events? Do you give away games, circle of friends at events? I give away games, yes. Of course, if the print run is limited, I can't give away too many games. And literally, and I'm not exaggerating here, if there is a new game from Spielworxx, and even more before a large convention or fair, so even before Spiel, it's even worse. I get requests for about 500 free games to send out. It's crazy. It is really crazy. But I try to send out a few and give away a few. If somebody asks for a game, of course we can talk for it. But for a small publisher, it's really difficult to do this. Emphasis on the K, so K-Gen. I love the range of games at Spielworxx. How do you decide what games to add to your catalog? First, it's my thing. I formed Spielworxx so that I can do the games that I like. And of course, I'm asking a few people, I'm thinking, rethinking, but sometimes it's really when I see a game, first play, I know this is a game I would like to do. And basically, I'm deciding here. The range of games that Spielworxx. Sorry, everything's fine there. So I think I understood this. Do you have a list of reviewers you sent games to? I'd be keen to be added. Please drop me a mail. So we are already in touch at Twitter. So please drop me a mail or a direct tweet, and we can always talk about this. Yes, I have a list of regular reviewers, and this is a very short list. But we can always talk about this. Yeah. And seeing that that I'm babbling here for 29 minutes, so I think if you don't have any pressing question right now, that I concluded for today. And again, as always, there's another question. So briefly, must the reviewer give you your games back? No. No, and of course, if they only if they are unplayed, but then maybe the review wasn't that detailed. No, of course not. Thank you for your time. We will talk again next week. And if you have any question in advance, or if you have some topic that you would like me to touch upon in advance, drop me an email at uli@spielworxx.de, that is uli@spielworxx.de. And till next week, bleibt gesund!